This is from the top of the pass looking down on where that dark green area is. That's Yosemite Tuolumne Meadows. Next. At the head of, I stopped overnight right by 1,000 Island Lake, and there was a sign on the trail, on a tree. It said, "Big Bad Bear, protect your food." It's the only night on the whole trip that I had my food. And I climbed up on a big boulder and reached up to a branch and put it up over me and went to bed, because I knew darn well I had walked a heck of a lot of miles that day. And I knew darn well I wouldn't hear him if he came in. He didn't come in. But the next morning, I'm at the head of the lake, and there is John Muir's favorite mountain, Mount Ritter. And that's Mount Ritter and Mount Banner. And I just sat in a snowstorm and looked at the mountains. Because usually in this area, there's 10,000 Boy Scouts with tents every place. And in August when it was snowing, there was not a single person around. I had it to myself. Next.
That's wonderful. Oh.
This is Devil's Post Pile. And as you can see, it's a great formation, and it's the only place I know of that has this kind of a rock formation. Okay? That night, I walked into Red's Meadow, and I had sent a food box to Red's Meadow, so I went in the little store and I'm yak, and you got a food box. And they looked at me, "We don't have a food box." I said, "It was sent here." "Oh, they got that in Mammoth. They don't send them out here. You gotta go to Mammoth." So I rented a little cabin, so I'd have a place to leave my pack. I spent the night. Next morning I headed for Mammoth, you know. And some people put me up in a motorhome and said, "Are you going in town?" And I said, "Yeah, I gotta go to the post office." "Well, get in, we'll take you." But on the way, this is an earthquake fault that opened up, and you can walk through it. And my feeling was, if it opened up, it could close up.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be down here. So I just kind of hesitated a minute and walked through. Next.
Sorry, hit the wrong button. Here.
Okay, I got into Mammoth, got my food box. I was supposed to have people meet me at Blaney Meadows, which was 3 days from Red's Meadow. So I thought, well, I can send this food box on to the next stop. I only need 3 days. And I picked up all my mail. It was folded and stuffed it in my pocket, and wrapped up that food box and sent it on to the next spot. And walking down the road back towards Red's Meadow, and I'm sorting my mail, and here's a letter from these people. And it said, "Sorry, Teddy, we can't meet you." Oh, I got 3 days supply of food, and it's 14 days from between here and the next stop. That doesn't sound good. Oh, people feel sorry for me. Besides that, I got fishing equipment, I can fish, and I'll be fine. So I continued on down the way, and this was the next morning after I left Red's Meadow, and that's Virginia Lake, and I thought, wow, that was so gorgeous. Next. Okay, where that notch is way up there is where I'll be tomorrow. I'm on top of Silver Pass, and as you can see, there's absolutely no vegetation up here at all. Next. Okay, and that's what you see up there. You're above tree line, it's not very welcoming, so you just kind of keep trudging. Next. And when you get to a stream, hey, I had to fish. Oh, you're too big for my frying pan. You're the right size. You're the right size. Okay, now. And you drop a line in. I had a frying pan that the handle came out of. And if I got the fish a certain size, cleaned them, cut off the head and the tail, they would fit. And I could get 3 in my pan. And I always carried margarine. You can't carry butter, because butter would go rancid on you. But you can carry margarine. So you set up your little stove, your fish, and over on the bank, you smell onions, and they're like scallions, you know. And people say, you carry onions in your pack? No, we got them over there along the bank. They expect you to find big red onions like this. That's not what they get. So they came back to me and said, we couldn't find any onions. And I said, let me show you. So I showed them how to pull the onion out and cook your fish. Next, this is one of the things in Sierras. You come across these fantastic shapes. The next one. This is John Muir Hut. And they ask you to only use it in cases of emergency or a bad storm, mainly because up this high, there's no bacteria when you get rid of your bodily functions. So they try to discourage you. And besides that, there is a fireplace in there, and it would accommodate about 6 people on benches. But you gotta get downhill to find wood. There isn't any wood up here. So if you want a fire, you gotta go find wood. Next. This one, as you can see, point out that airplane for me up there on the big screen.
Right here.
I was doing the show in elementary school one day, and a little girl hollered, a flying saucer. It was Forest Service Patrol. But I've always kept the flying saucer in because I thought it's a good conversation piece. Next. This is my favorite spot in the Sierras, Ray Lakes, R-A-E Lakes. And they're just so fantastic. And I walked up to them, and there was a picnic table there. So I had lunch at a picnic table. And a little later, I ran into a trail crew, and I said, where did that picnic table come from? Oh, our helicopter pilot picked it up at a school down there in the desert. He'll take it back before school starts. But it was kind of neat to have a picnic table. Next. This is up above Ray Lakes, and I just stood here for a minute to just listen. And the only thing I could hear was my heart beating and my breath. There was no other sound. Next.
That's the highest pass, isn't it?
Huh?
Isn't that the highest pass?
No. The highest pass is Mount Forester, Forester Pass, and it's over 13,000 feet. And if you approach it from the north, you come on it gradually. If you come in at it from the south, you see this wall and these trails, and you think, oh, good Lord. But if you come from the north, you gradually get up there, and then it drops off. So you have to come down it. But the lowest place is in the desert, and the highest is Forester Pass. So you're over 2 miles in the air when you're on Forester. My feet just get heavy. But this is the Sierras, and as you can see, it's rugged country. Next. This is a pothole. It has no entrance and no exit. It's just a big deep hole, and it's fed by rain or melting snow. It never gets scummy, so you can get out and if you can get down to it and get water. Next. This I'm headed for way out there in the desert. You can see a white building. That's where I'm headed. I got a food box there, the one that I sent on. But I started down this road, and a pickup came along, coming from the parking lot, and he said, "Where are you heading?" "Out there to get a food box." "Well, if you'll tell me a story, I'll take you down and bring you back." And I said, "And I'll let you too." So I went down and got my food box and sent on what I didn't need, and then climbed back up here, or got driven back up, and then back into the high country. Next. This is coming down towards the lower Kennedy Meadows, and the Forest Service built this bridge for backpackers. One big problem: you couldn't walk across it with your pack on. It's too narrow. So you take your pack off and drag it along the bars, and that's how you get across it. But they built it that narrow because there's a lot of motorcycles in here, and they didn't want the motorcycles to use the bridge. So they built it for human size. Next. This is coming down into Kennedy Meadows, and that's the last of the Sierras. That peak you see back there is Mama Lancha. But this was the mighty Kern. And next, that last one, I went up into the campground, and they had a store, and I said, "Where's the trail south?" "There's no trail south." "What do you mean? It goes to the Mexican border." "No, it doesn't. It starts and stops here." And I said, "Oh my God, they moved Mexico while I was gone." But then it was up into the Angeles, and I, by this time, had crossed the desert. I left Lake Isabella and came up, and I had big fleecy clouds, and I felt the raindrop, and I said, "Think snow doesn't rain in this year, out here in the desert." Tropical storm Kathleen moved in that night, and I was camped beside Aqueduct, and I had sent everything on because I didn't want to carry it across the desert. I had my tent fly, anything I didn't need. It rained, and I woke up about 11, and my feet were wet. I didn't have a rain cloud. It had gone on. And I thought, oh, good grief. And I was setting up by 1 o'clock because my tent was becoming full of water. And at daylight, I took a bearing on the next little town, Mojave, and headed for it. And when I got to Mojave, it was pouring. I mean, the water was over a foot deep in the street, and there was a motel right in front of me. And I walked into this motel, and I said, "You better have a room. And I don't care if it's a broom closet." And so, of course, he got this story out of me of what I was doing. And he said, "Oh, I got a lovely room for you." And I said, "Where's the laundromat?" I got wet, I got muddy, so he said, "We're straight across the street." So I took everything over there. If it was dirty, it got washed. If it was just wet, it went in the dryer. And then I waded back across to the motel, and he said, "You know, I like your story. I'm not going to charge you. You got the room as long as the storm lasts." And I said, "Oh, thank you." He said, "We'll even bring you hot meals." And I said, "I really thank you." But this is beside that, and as you can see, that hat was part of my going across the desert hat. But as you can see, I'm pretty tan by now. Next. It's looking down towards LA and smog. This is out on the desert, not too far from here. I was coming down a canyon. I was supposed to switch over to the next canyon, but somebody decided they'd take this line as a souvenir. So I'm walking across the desert, and desert walking is rough because the wind has blown most of the sand away, so there's a lot of rocks, and so there was a little hillock, and I got up on the top, and way out there I could see buildings. If there's buildings, there's a road. Next. Oh, I've got to finish the other story. So I headed towards those buildings, hoping to find the road. Came down off a hill, and there's all these people, but nobody's got any clothes on. I'm in a nudist colony with a big pack on my back. And so I'm trying to just walk and look at feet, and I didn't want to see any bodies. And this pickup truck came roaring up, and he said, "Lady, how in the H did you get in here?" And I said, "I don't know. How the H do I get out of here?" And so he told me to take the road that I was on, and I would come to a big gate. And when I got outside, it was a big brick, used brick and wrought iron, and it said, "Desert Gardens." And I said, "Looks like a Garden of Eden." But anyway, that was my bad adventure. Next, I got up to Idlewild, and these are my 4 kids here. I have 2 boys and 2 girls, and the girls were going to walk from Idlewild to the border with me. And were they ever out of shirt? They were 20 and 21. Next. To get down to the border, it used to be you had to walk through here. And I was dragging my walking stick all along the side. And they, "Mom, why are you making all the noise?" "I'll tell you when we get out." And next. This is what it's like inside. It'd be a great place for rattlesnakes to get out of the sun. So when we come out to the sun, I just did that in case there were rattlesnakes and we could make them go. Next, this is at the border. I camped about 2 miles from the border, and I called home, and they said, "Don't go up there, we're all coming down and we want to walk to the border with you." So this is at the border, and my pack by then was down to 35 pounds. I still had all the cooking gear for my 2 daughters because I didn't want to burden them. But this is the kids from my hometown, Anaheim. Next.
No fence there at that time.
This was the 3 of us. My girls brought the shorts and t-shirts that said Mexico or bus. That's the 3 of us at the border. And that little white house is in Mexico. Next. And these are the reporters that met me. There's an AP there, and there's Orange County Register, and there was one from San Diego. And that building's on the Mexican side. Okay? Next. And that's it. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. If you got any questions?
How much weight did you lose?
How much weight did I lose? 40 pounds.
Wow.
But with the legs, with those boots, I could kick the hole in the cement wall.
This sounds very similar to the story I heard your